Foundation Community Outreach Chair. I'm also a board member. My name is Charlene Walters, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Kinder Forum from preschool to public school. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. Before we begin, I would like to point out that this webinar is being recorded and will be on the BAEF website. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. Some questions may be answered during the presentation via text in the Q&A box, while others we may do at the end of the presentation. Any questions not answered we'll have up on our BAEF website, and you will be able to find them in a frequently asked questions section. So now on to the fun stuff. I'd like to welcome our fellow panelists here tonight. We have from the Burbank Unified School District leadership team, Peter Knapik, the Director of Elementary Education. Also with us is Juliana Sanchez, the dual immersion kindergarten teacher at Disney Elementary. We have Erin Constantine. She is from Burbank Council PTA. She's the VP of Membership. We also have Tracy Lalacata here to talk to us about the fundraising committees at our schools. We have our BAEF, Burbank Arts and Education Foundation board members, Anna Connell, and we have Caroline Solberg. And last but not least, we have our outstanding BAEF board chair, Brenda Etterbeek. To start things off, we'd love to address the question that we often see on social media, and that's about after-school care. Brenda, can you talk to us about that tonight?
Sure. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to share with you about something that could provide maybe some anxiety as a first-time parent or a parent who's navigating this transition, and that is about after-school care. And it does vary per all the different school sites kind of offer different things, but typically there's usually a Boys and Girls Club, there's an after school days program, Around the Bell, and then off campus is the YMCA. And I would encourage you to go to, I'm going to share my screen. If you go to the district website and okay, so sorry, it's like a toolbar, here we go. And if you go to departments, and then you click on child development, child care, it will bring you to child care options. And I encourage you to take a look, and because all different enrollments work different ways depending on the school sites. So I would encourage you, you can look over, for example, Around the Bell, and it will tell you what school sites it's offered at, and just call your school site, I would say, and ask them those questions, and then reach out to different things. Everything is a pretty great price point actually, and can help you. And some do provide before school programs as well, childcare. So yeah, I would just encourage you to contact your school site because I know that can be a little stressful trying to figure out how to get your child to school when you're working full-time or part-time as well. So yeah, you can drop any questions in the chat and we are happy to answer them. And Charlene, back to you. Charlene, I think you're muted, my friend.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate you. Sorry, everyone. So another question that often comes up on social media is, what do I do to get my kiddo ready for kindergarten? So today we have Juliana Sanchez here, the dual immersion teacher at Disney, and she's going to talk to us a little about that. Juliana?
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here. I am sure many of you may feel anxious about getting ready for kindergarten, and it is completely normal both for your child, for yourself, and even as kindergarten teachers, we do get nervous that first day of kinder. There are so many emotions that arise on that first day, whether children have gone to preschool before or whether they're coming from home. There are different emotions that we will be, handling in kindergarten. And a few things that I do suggest to parents is to read those social emotional books, books like A Little Spot of, those feelings books, or the Ninja Life Hacks. Those are books that you can read with your child so they can, name their feelings. That's something very important in kindergarten. Students get nervous, they don't know what they're feeling, they might get upset about something, and we want to make sure they're able to name those feelings. So reading with them, making it part of your daily routine will really help them be ready to express themselves when it comes to kindergarten. Reading books about the first day of kindergarten, those jitters, letting them know that it is okay to be nervous. Once you establish a routine at home, a routine in school, it'll ease their nerves a bit more. A few things that I do suggest doing is establishing a routine. So making sure we have a decent bedtime. We do suggest for students to sleep, 10 to 12 hours. Kids that don't have, that don't sleep enough, they're already starting off on the wrong foot. They might be tired, and it just might throw off their day, just like it throws off our days when we don't sleep enough. It is especially important for kindergartners to sleep enough hours at night. If for some reason in your schedule your child still is able to take naps during the day, that's something that you may want to start phasing out little by little, just because when it gets to kindergarten, there's no more nap time. Kindergarten is definitely not the kindergarten that it used to be, 20, 30 years ago. It is definitely more rigorous. It's based on, standards. We have a lot to cover with them at such a young age. We're teaching them to read, we're teaching them to write. And those that are already reading, we're challenging them. So there's a lot of academics in kindergarten. Something else that we suggest is to foster independence. So many students may be used to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa doing things for them, like, opening their snacks. When they go to the restroom, they may need some help from parents. But once we get to kindergarten, they have to do these things on their own. So definitely foster independence, foster good hygiene, practice, opening their snacks at home, peeling that orange, little things like that that we don't think about sometimes, just to make that, just so they can see like what is coming, what do I need to do when I get to school? I'm a big boy now, I'm a big girl now. So definitely fostering that independence, asking for help. Some kids just expect to be helped, which is fine. We will be there and we will help them as much as we can, but we also want them to advocate for themselves, to say, I need this. And so definitely talk to your child about, advocating for themselves, asking questions when they need any support. Other things that are going to arise in school, your child might have conflicts with other children. Now, how do we resolve that? One, when your child comes home and they tell you, they had an issue with so-and-so, make sure your child, ask your child, to tell you what happened. For a lot of my kids, what we do is I have them act it out, because sometimes their reality might be a little different from someone else's reality. So example, I'll have children that say, oh, so-and-so hit me, or so-and-so pushed me. Okay. I grab a little stuffy. Can you please show me what happened? It's like, okay. It's a tap. It's like, okay. So let's talk about how can we solve these issues. I love acting it out. It's very different from what your child thinks happened versus, what actually happened. Definitely have your child act things out, talk to them about how can we solve these conflicts, using your words, asking an adult for help, just to make sure things are solved. Of course, there will be times for some students where things can escalate. It is important that you have communication with your child's teacher. Make sure you have your child's teacher's email address correctly. Make sure, if your child has, if your parent, excuse me, if your teacher's preferred method of communication is certain apps like Remind or Class Dojo, make sure you are signed up for that. Make sure that, you're reading all the information that comes in from your teacher. And reach out to them when an issue does arise, because for the most part, we want to make sure that we address issues early on rather than waiting a while and things can fester a bit. Definitely communicate with your teacher. Let your child know that we are a team, parents, teachers, and children. It's a group effort, school. We're on the same team. Teachers and parents want the best for their students. And so one way of doing that is through communication. If there is an issue that arises, please, if it's something minimal, talk with your child, about problem solving. But it's something that's a little more intense, definitely talk to your child's teacher about it. Also, front load your teacher with any concerns that you may already have. If you know your child is having a very difficult time adjusting to a new change, let them know so we can keep an eye on them and possibly give you resources that will help your child, either alleviate that anxiety, or even if it is just a simple, let me talk with your child one-on-one, for a minute or two, and, just start creating those connections with them. Let us know. I have parents who let me know if their child, has just some behavior concerns. If I know right away, I can, make sure I'm focusing on the positives. If there are behavior concerns, have you noticed something that helps at home that we can implement at school as well? Things like that are very helpful for us. Do keep in mind that some of us are, we have 24, 25, 26 students, depending on the school, depending on the program. And so it is, it is a little challenging the first weeks to try to get to know all of your students. But if there's something in particular that we need to know, that's a must, please go ahead and reach out, whether it is through email, whether it is through apps that teachers may use. We want to make sure we address any concerns as soon as possible. What else can I tell you? There's something that usually comes up at school, and I just had to touch on it as a kindergarten teacher. Tattling versus reporting. So definitely talk to your child about these things. As a teacher, we spend a lot of time, working on these social emotional concerns with our children. And academics, right? We're teaching them to read, we're teaching them to write, science, social studies. But sometimes a lot of our time comes into, tattling. He said this, she said that. Definitely talk to your child about the difference between tattling and reporting. We definitely want to know, if there's important issues that come up in the yard. But there are times when they're able to solve their problems. Once again, that comes to the whole part about talking to your child about how to problem solve at school and at home. You can practice this in the park, when they're in the park and they're playing with their friends, and you see a problem arise. Hey, how can we solve it? So yes, thank you so much. I think I am done for right now, but I'll be answering any questions you may have on the chat. And just remember, it's okay to be nervous. But we'll get through it. And as long as you and your child's teacher, are a team, we can get through it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Charlene.
Thank you so much, Juliana. If you are new to BUSD, you might wonder, how can you be more involved with your school? Teachers will let parents and caregivers know what help they need in their classrooms. Supplies, some may need help in the classroom. Some only may need help like with prep at home. It's very useful to have parents cutting out letters at home for them. This all will depend on your site and your teacher. So let them tell you what they need and be open and welcome for them to ask you. But there are other ways that you can be involved with the school. And Anna is going to tell us something about School Site Council and how you can become a part of that. Anna?
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you having me. I have to say, School Site Council was one of the more fun ways I thought to get involved, because it's really playing a critical role at each school site in making a ton of different types of decisions. So the exact duties of the School Site Council vary by site, but typically the school site councils generally can make decisions and advise the principal on how to spend school discretionary budget funds and on academic planning for the year. Many site councils are also responsible for making decisions about parent engagement and safety and discipline. So just as some examples, you've got some school site councils that look at the goals and priorities of the school. They look at the data that shows how well the school site is achieving the goals. They look at the groups of students. Are there particular groups of students who are not maybe doing as well as others? And they also look at things like, well, if a particular group of students isn't doing as well as others, how can we put supports in place to help those groups? And how will we fund those, supports for these students? So they look at everything, including programs that are effective, programs that maybe are not as effective. They look at either instituting or eliminating different programs. They also want feedback from what's working and what's not working. So those are just a few of the things that School Site Council can look at. And so, as I said, the exact duties kind of vary by site, but what is the same is who makes up the school site councils. So the councils are made up of basically a mix of classified staff and certificated staff, as well as parents. And then at the middle and high school levels, you also have students that are part of the council. Now, these members are all elected by their peers, and the elections typically can take place either in the spring or in the very beginning of the school year in the fall, and you serve a 2-year term. So basically, it's just an amazing way of diving into the school and the resources, and it's a great way of meeting other parents, teachers, and students, depending on what level you're doing it at. And the easiest way to find out how to get involved is to just go to your school site office or approach your principal, maybe send them an email and say, hey, I've heard about School Site Council and it sounds like something I would be interested in. Generally, when are the meetings and when do you hold elections? And the meetings, by the way, are open to everybody. So anybody can come. It's just that only those that are elected to the council can actually cast a vote on the different issues that could be before the school site council. And as far as how many times they meet, it really varies by site as well, and how many things that they have to discuss. Some sites could meet monthly, other sites could designate, 2 or 3 meetings per semester. But again, it's a great group of people to be involved with, and lots of information on it that you can, go onto the district website and just put in School Site Council, and different articles and sites will pop up so you can do some more homework on it. But like I said, great resource, and thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate you. Another great way to know what is going on at your school and to be involved in advocating for all children is through PTA. Take it away, Erin.
Hi, welcome. I'm so glad to be here. I'm actually very excited because I love our schools so much that I'm teaching in them now. I started as a PTA parent when my son was going into kindergarten, I have to admit, I absolutely love children, but I was very nervous around other parents. And I felt overwhelmed about kind of talking to other parents and I don't know, just connecting. I wasn't, it was a new community that I was a bit shy to be a part of. So I reached out to the teacher, and then the teacher connected me with the PTA. And so I'm going to share my screen because I will talk off topic and just ramble. So these notes will actually help me. So 1 second. Great. Okay. PTA is a way to connect, and there are so many ways. And I say this because I've been working with PTA in various capacities for over 10 years. And there's always a way to connect. If you just can do an email once in a while and you want a PTA member to reach out to you and tell you about what's going on at school, oftentimes your school PTA will have a newsletter and they'll send you information about what's happening and you can get connected that way. Maybe you have a little bit of time, but you only have time on the weekends. So you can connect with the PTA and say, do you have anything that's going on the weekends? And maybe they'll tell you about a festival you can volunteer an hour for and help out. Or maybe you have Wednesday mornings and you want to get into school and you kind of want to help the teacher. A PTA can help connect you in that way as well. So there are always ways. Grab a PTA person, ask them, tell them what you're thinking, and they will help you get involved. When you join PTA, memberships vary from school to school, the price. They can be $7, it can be $8, $9, $10. But that money goes directly to advocating for your child. We are connected to the California State PTA and National PTA. And as it says a few sentences down, these are the oldest and largest and most powerful advocacy organizations in the country. I have been lucky enough to see PTA advocate in Sacramento. I have helped PTA with campaigns to get more money for our schools, to register voters, to connect with parents. And it really is an incredible advocacy organization. And by joining, even if you can't volunteer or you can't go to meetings or you can't do any of that, but you want to say, I support the PTA, I support my school, then you can just become a member. And that is a really great way to get involved. The other thing about PTA is that, so I was saying before, I was very shy to meet other parents. And through PTA, I met a group of people and they wanted the same thing that I wanted, which was to have an incredible school experience for their child. And when you know that you're in it together with other parents, because you all want your child to have a good school experience, you connect with parents in a different way. And so I've made lifelong friendships from the PTA people that I was able to connect with. And like I said, it doesn't matter what level of involvement, because I know PTA parents who work over 40 hours a week, and they do not have time to come to every meeting, volunteer at every event, but they are absolutely connected to the community. So there are always ways to be connected, as I said. PTAs are not fundraising organizations, but they do raise funds. So we do like scholastic book fairs, which is here at the middle school that I teach at, John Muir Middle School. The children love the Scholastic Book Fair. They come in on their lunch break and they look through the books. PTA does that. It's not just a fundraiser. It's also, we're trying to help get affordable books in the hands of children. And when we do this Scholastic fundraiser, we often take the money from the fundraiser and funnel it back to the school libraries or back to the teachers. So most schools have book fairs or things like that, and PTA is typically a part of those type of fundraisers, trying to enrich the educational experience of the students. And I don't know if there's anything else that I want to say, but please, if you have any questions, ask me. I'll put my personal email in the chat, and I can help you get connected to anybody at any school that you are going to start at. Like I said, I started in PTA and now I'm teaching, and I have absolutely loved my experience. Let me stop my sharing. My screen, did I stop? So I appreciate being able to talk to you today, and I'll put my email in the chat, and don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you so much, Erin. Appreciate you being here as well. Several of our schools have what we call fundraising committees. They're made up of admin, teachers, parents, and they play an important role in making the school great. Tracy, may you share some of your information about that?
I'd love to. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for having me. Welcome, new BUSD parents and families. My name is Tracy Lalicata, and I have been a part of the BUSD system now. This is my 8th year. And I, like Erin, was nervous about meeting new parents, but wanted my child to have the best experience, school experience and educational experience possible. One of the ways that I found that was a great way to get involved was not only PTA, but also through fundraising committees, which were formerly called boosters. Maybe some of you have heard from your other family or friends that your school has a boosters program. Here at BUSD, they're now called fundraising committees because they are a great way that parents and connect with BUSD directly to raise funds for, it's kind of to bridge a gap between what the state is able to fund and help us be able to have the best educational experience at our schools, and where there might be a gap in an area that we feel is important for our children to have, or that the principal and the teachers also feel that it is important to have. For example, a few years ago, there was a measure for our school district that unfortunately did not pass. And so there had to be some cutbacks. So I know that elementary schools, for example, the district used to be able to provide music for 2nd through 5th grade. A lot of the elementary schools fundraising committees then started raising funds to provide music education, but through outside vendors or having additional music teachers come in, representatives to come in to teach smaller groups of like music classes. So that was something that like a lot of principals felt was important, a lot of parents that felt were important. And the best way to do that is through a fundraising committee. Where this works for any arts program or things like that. Often PTA and fundraising committees meetings are once a month. At a lot of the school sites, they meet back to back, so that if you come to a meeting in the evening for one, the other one usually follows right after. Sometimes they're 2 separate weekly meetings or monthly meetings on 2 separate nights. But they're a great way to get involved. You'll see a lot of the same faces at a lot of the schools because a lot of parents find it's a great way to connect, as Erin was mentioning. But if you're passionate about wanting to raise money for a school program, or wanting to really connect with the admin staff and the teachers, I also highly recommend not only becoming a PTA member, but becoming a member of your fundraising committee. The best way to do this, besides joining going to a meeting, is also by like asking your school principal or teachers what the school might need. You know, do they have enough art supplies? Do they back before the pandemic, we needed a lot more Chromebooks at a lot of the different elementary school sites. Fortunately, now we don't have to worry about that because BUSD has now been able to have enough Chromebooks for everyone. But library books, things like that. And whereas PTA is primarily an advocacy group because it's all about, you know, every child, one voice, fundraising committee is not only advocating, but they are also, the name says, fundraising. So they have worked directly with the district to help have great fundraisers for these tools. I'm going to share my screen with a fun little cheat sheet that will also keep me on task. Hopefully you'll be able to see. Let's see, share. and share my screen. Yeah. Hopefully you're seeing. Nope, hold on. Apologize, 1 second. I have it pulled up. Share. Oh, it's still not letting me do it. I apologize. I don't know why. It is, so basically I'll go over the points and then I can drop the little thing in the document in the chat for each of you. Basically what is important to do is to talk to, if you go to the meeting, great. If your school site does not have a fundraising committee, that's okay too. Oh, are you seeing this now? My screen sharing or no?
No.
No, okay. I apologize. Well, you want to meet with your principal and teachers and discuss what the school needs. And then you want to meet with your fundraising committee, like perhaps you have your teachers like, I would love to teach a painting session to go with, this particular artist or this topic that we're going to be going over. Or maybe they would love to have some clay to go with their unit, but they just don't have the funds for that. You can discuss it with your fundraising committee to determine whether or not that is something that they can fundraise for. Often you will hear it like, absolutely. And then you may want to discuss having a specific fundraiser for that type of thing. For example, I know that at a few of the schools, they have a Rockin' for the Arts program where they will have a fundraiser where it's like a little rock concert where anyone from like TK through 5th grade can perform in a little rock band, and they raise that money specifically for the arts programs at their school. There's also reading programs, reading fundraisers like a readathon. Several of the schools use something called Who's Reading and that helps raise money for STEAM labs or the library or other special things that the school needs. So if you or if maybe you work for a company that does great fundraisers out there, that does wreaths or cards or something, you can bring that to your fundraising committee, and then they will also, part of the fundraising committee is always, your principal is always on the board of that organization, and so you work in tandem with them to put on a fundraiser for either general needs or for a specific need at the school. It's a lot of group effort, but you don't have to be involved in every single one. So if you're a full-time working parent, it's okay. You don't need to dedicate every hour to every fundraiser, but it is a great way to get involved and help see things through to fruition. If your school is approved to have a fundraiser and you're excited about, getting that, that clay program running for your kindergarten group, then if the principal, you get it going, the fundraiser happens, this principal will then help guide the fundraising committee and if you're chairing that section or whatever it might be, to get the funds deposited through the office manager directly to the district. And then the district pays for a purchase order for the clay. You tell them, they will order the clay and then it'll arrive. And then you can work with your teacher to either teach the clay program or have someone come in and teach it. So it's a great process. It's now been fine-tuned to work with the district and the financial department at the district, as well as the office manager and the principal at your school site, so that the funds get directed where they're supposed to be, specifically what you are fundraising for. And it's been a great way for several of the different elementary schools to have direct accountability for what they really are passionate about. Every school site has a little bit of a different need. Some schools have instruments and that's amazing. And so they can help fundraise for more instruments. Some school sites focus on maybe dance or clay or a STEAM lab. It depends on each school site, like I mentioned, was a little bit different. So it's a great way to really get involved in what maybe you feel is important to your child and the children that you are meeting at your school, and that the teachers and the principal feel are important. And then in terms of finding like that vendor or anything like that, your school site principal will work with you to find that or work directly to find those vendors. You may, they may say, oh, we'd really like to have, this this amazing drummer come in and teach African drumming to our students. But the PTAs, it's not something necessarily, unless it was like an assembly, that they're allowed to pay for, because it doesn't impact the entire school. But if it was like, for example, just a 4th and 5th grade group, then your fundraising committee can fundraise for that through your principal, so that 4th and 5th graders would have that, or a kinder special artist session. So that it really can be as large as of a scope as that parent group and that principal and the teachers feel is necessary. But it's really to kind of help bridge that gap for the different programs that maybe the state doesn't provide enough funding for, but that we as parents and the teachers and the principal at your school feel are still necessary to really give our children the best education possible. I've been lucky enough to have been involved with either the arts programs at my daughter's elementary school, as well as served on the boards of both fundraising committee and PTA. So if you have any questions, I will also put my personal email in the chat. I'm happy to answer any. And I know several of the schools, they're very welcoming to parents that want to get involved in either, whether it's a small way or a large way. Sometimes it's just a matter of, like, for fundraising committee, about asking people to do a direct ask, or sending out information to your families about wreath sales or whatever it is. But it's a great way to meet new parents and feel connected to your school. And then it's really rewarding when you have fundraised for something and then see that program implemented at your school, and the smiles on the teachers' faces and the excitement of the children. It really helps. At least for me as a person, it makes me feel like I in a small way, making a difference for my child and the students that she interacts with. So, and making the best education possible. So I'll put my personal email also in the chat, and feel free to ask any questions now or later. I mean, now, but yes. Okay, back to you, Charlene.
Thank you, Tracy. So no matter if you are volunteering with the fundraising committees, with PTA programs, or in the classroom, you're going to have to be a cleared volunteer. And that's really important to get this clearance done. So I'll just share my screen real quick. Okay, let me make that bigger for everyone. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is go to the district website, and you're going to look for departments. Once you're there, you're going to go to Human Resources. And when you click on that, you will see the volunteer information. So you're going to click on that. And once you're there, there is some forms that you're going to need. So once you click on the language you need for the application, you're going to have to make sure you have the forms listed there. You don't want to send in your actual medical cards, just the form that you'll see in a bit. You need your driver's license. There's also a TB tuberculosis risk assessment form that you can have filled out by your doctor or nurse. And that'll just help the district know that you're safe to be in that classroom and amongst our children. Very important for you to have that done. Once you have everything's lined up and your TB risk assessment form is cleared, that form is actually good for 4 years. You won't have to get that done again, but you will have to reapply every year for your clearance to volunteer. So they'll just need the form filled out again, but not your TB clearance. You can upload all of this information onto the site Or if you need help, like I do sometimes, you can go into the office and they can show you how to upload that information. There's also this form to read. It is found on Aries. They're also in the school office, and it's just about some insurance, emergency care information. You need to read it, and then you're going to fill out this form here. No, you're not an employee, but when you are a volunteer, so you can put that in there, and you're going to fill out this form with your application. It's simple. It doesn't take too long to get cleared. But again, if you want to volunteer on campus, if there's a PTA event, if there is a fundraising group that needs you to help, that you need to be a cleared volunteer to do that. I will stop sharing my screen. And then I'd like to move on to some more resources, some more information that is with our district. And so Peter is going to come and share some of that information with us right now. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Anna and Aaron, also for sharing about community and district resources too. I'm going to go ahead and expand on what Anna and Aaron had shared already. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Here we go. Whoop. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So with district and community resources, we'll start out by just reinforcing what Anna had shared about school site councils. School site councils are very important to a school site. One of the primary responsibilities of the school site council is also in the development of the school plan. And so in collaboration with the principal and the teachers and the parents, a school plan is developed. So they'll develop a plan that addresses reading, language arts, and mathematics, parent engagement. It may include the arts, it may include science, it may include social studies. So it's a well-rounded plan based on the data at the school. And once again, those plans are developed and they're taken to the board for approval. And a lot of it is also a budget document too. So for schools that are Title I schools, schools that are Title III, which is our English learner program, they do have requirements to have a complete school plan adopted by the school site council. But your principals can tell you more about that. We have our English Learner Advisory Council, and those meetings are for families that are multi-language learner families. And they have conversations about how our students are learning English in our schools, what kind of interventions are happening in our schools. And it's primarily around our English language learners. These groups also elect a person to join the District English Learner Advisory Council. And that council meets with me and a few other representatives here across the district every other month. And so we talk about district-wide issues in relationship to the English language learner program. Aaron talked about PTAs and Tracy talked about school fundraising committees. So I'm not going to really elaborate too much more on that other than to say, please join. Okay. Many of our schools have coffee with the principals. And those are informal gatherings where the principals will have snacks and they'll talk about a variety of issues that are occurring at the school. And it's a conversation, it's a tete-a-tete with the families. And so you're more than welcome to go ahead and join those. Many of our schools have special events such as heritage activities, celebrating our cultures and cultural awareness. And those usually happen in the evenings, maybe once or twice a year, depending upon the school. I know that schools over the years have had very elaborate celebrations, like I'm thinking of Disney's right now. And Emerson just had theirs a couple of days ago. It's really important to go ahead and participate in that and celebrate all of our cultures and what we bring to the table and share with each other. Special events such as literacy night, science night, it could be a movie night or something like that. So there's a lot of special events that happen and that come through the schools, and PTAs often sponsor that. Moving on, please make, if you're interested, go ahead and access the community resources across the district. And I just outlined a few of them here that you may be interested, that the Boys and Girls Club, they have special events and activities, as well as childcare, parks and rec. We talked about the after school days, ASD, we call it, program. Burbank YMCA has a childcare program and also special events and activities through the YMCA. AYSO, the American Youth Soccer Association, is open to all of community members, and the Burbank Vikings Sports and Cheer group is also open to everyone. So take a look and see what they have to offer too. The Burbank Public Library is a wonderful resource, and you can, all of our children here within the school district, TK through grade 12, as a matter of fact, they get a library card, and you can go ahead and check out books from the library, or you can use their online access, B Connect, they call it. And it's a wonderful resource. As you may be well aware, the libraries across the United States, here in Burbank, included the state of California, have really expanded and have a wealth of resources. And so tap into it. I am just amazed at how much is out there through the library system. And it's really, really a learning experience for all of us. You may want to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club. I was just with the Rotary Club today as they're celebrating the new Rotary Club, the 100 years here in Burbank. And the Kiwanis, the Elks, service organizations that support all of us as community members, our families, our students, and our schools. And that is one more we want to share is the Kids Community Dental Clinic on McKinley School campus. Reach out to them if you have any kind of dental needs, because they will work with you on low-cost dental services too. We've had a strong relationship with them for many, many years, and they offer a wonderful service. So do reach out to them. Burbank Housing Public Corporation and the Burbank Family Services Agency are also two resources that you may tap into. Family Services offering counseling, and housing is just that. Will help you to work with any kind of housing issues too. If you would run into any kind of difficulties, or you know families that need to have some temporary aid, reach out to BTAC, the Burbank Temporary Aid Center, and then Home Again LA, which is also formerly known as the Burbank Promise Group too. So tap into those resources. Okay, Charlene, I'll turn it back to you, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the year, you're going to get a lot of flyers. I'm just warning you now. Thankfully, a lot of them are electronic now, but you're going to be asked for a lot of money. And so you might end up wondering, why am I being asked for so much money? So we wanted to have Caroline explain what's going on with funding in our district. Caroline?
Thanks, Charlene. I'm really happy to be here. I'm going to talk to you about how our schools are funded. The state of California provides funding for the city of Burbank and all the cities, and then for the school districts. And they're two separate pots of money. So the city is in charge of streets and libraries and fire department and police department, basically everything that's not schools. And I bring this up because a lot of people say, well, is the city helping us pay for things? Well, the school districts have a separate pot of money, and that's what the state gives them. So, and up until about 8 years ago, the state gave each school district a pot of money, but they said, you have to spend this much of the money this way and that much of the money that way. For example, you've got to spend this much money on desks and this much money on books and this much money on computers. And if a school district went back to the state and said, we've got, our desks are in great shape, we don't need any more desks, we'd like to spend it on new books, the state would say, I'm sorry, desk money is for desks, book money is for books. So about 8 years ago, they changed the system. And this is a very simplified version of how it works. And they said, here is a pot of money, and we would like you to make a plan for how you're going to spend that money. And that plan is called the Local Control Accountability Plan. And we refer to it as LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan. So each school district, we're going to tell you how much money you have, and you're going to make a plan and tell us how you want to spend it. And the way the school district determines how they are going to, what's going to be in that plan, is they have a series of meetings with teachers, with administrators, with students, with parents, community members. And the district takes all of this information and then determines what they think is most needed by the district and puts a plan together. Each plan is 3 years long. So the first year you have the plan, and the plan has to go to the county, and the county reviews it. And if they say it's okay, then you move forward. Now, if part of our plan was we're going to spend half our money on putting soda in the drinking fountains, they would say, no, that's not a good plan. Go back and try again. So you've got to have a reasonable plan. And there are also several benchmarks that the state would like each district to pay attention to. And so the meetings that we have explain this process to us. And the meetings that parents can go to in our district, there are usually 4 of them, and they're in the spring. This year, they're going to be in February, March, April, and May. We are in year 3 of the plan. So year 1 of the plan, you make the plan, get it approved. Year 2 of the plan, you see if it's working for you, and you might have to tweak it a little bit, and then you submit amendments to the county to see if you can make adjustments. In year 3, same thing, adjustments. Year 4, you've completed that 3-year plan. So now you're back to what would be year 1, and you make a new plan. Our district is in year 3 of a 3-year plan. The next meeting, which you're welcome to go to, anyone can go to it. Since the pandemic, we've been doing it by Zoom. It's going to be Wednesday, February 8th at 6 p.m. And if you go to the Burbank Unified website and the tab that says district information, and then from there, go to the tab that says LCAP, LCAP, you can get the information about what time the meeting is, what the Zoom link is, when the future meetings are, and also there are recordings from meetings in the past. These meetings are a great source of information. If you want to understand better about what can be funded, what can't be funded, what we're not able to fund right now. If you have any questions about funding, it's district staff is there. They take questions. They can explain. It's a great format to ask questions and get a better understanding of what's happening and why it's happening. So what does the district pay for, and what do parent groups like PTA and fundraising committees pay for? Tracy touched on that. She did a great job. I'm going to tell you a little bit more. When my son started, there had just been some major cuts in funding. And so the elementary library staff was cut. And so at that time, our fundraising committees, some of them were fundraising to have someone in the library, so the library could be open. At some schools, they were using parent volunteers. Since then, the district has received more money from the state and has been able to fund these positions. So the staff in the library is now funded by the district. The books are often funded by fundraising committees. A lot of effort has been recently put into diversifying the libraries, to updating the books in the library. So the physical books are often funded by parent fundraising groups. As Tracy mentioned, we had district music for 2nd through 5th graders. And a couple of years ago, cuts had to be made because the state cut the budget. And so now there's only weekly music provided by the district, 30 minutes a week for 4th and 5th graders for the whole school year. So some fundraising committees and parent groups have put their efforts into raising money to provide music for kindergarten through 3rd graders. As Tracy mentioned, other schools feel like they would prefer to focus on dance for K through 5, or some focus on drama. And so it's just whatever your community decides. And those that fundraise for K through 3 music, it might only be an 8-week program. It may not be all year long. And so that's something to learn from your school site, what their plans are for the year. Now, one of the things that happened a few years ago was the district updated its arts plan and added a goal of providing the opportunity for every student to learn an instrument. And the instrument that was chosen was a ukulele. So for the 4th and 5th graders, who are part of the district music program, they would learn the ukulele. Unfortunately, the district didn't have money to buy ukuleles. So some fundraising groups raised money for ukuleles. We have 11 elementary schools and only 4 of them were able to do this. And then the pandemic came, and that's where our organization, Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, jumped in. And we said, what if we pay for the ukuleles for the last 7 schools, because this education was not happening because not everyone had ukuleles. So this will be the first year that every elementary school has ukuleles, and every 4th and 5th grader will be able to learn them. And that's something we like to support. The district provides basic art supplies for drawing and painting, but things like clay instruction, some schools have photography instruction, kilns, that's through money raised by parent groups. There's a program called Response to Intervention that the district provides, and that's when students are falling behind and they need extra support to bring them up to where they need to be. A program called Response to Intervention is provided. It's usually for English language arts and math. Some schools feel that they want to provide more of that for their students. They might have a larger population that's struggling, and so they want to put more money into that. And the parent groups will then fundraise to provide more time for response intervention. Gardens are usually covered by parent fundraising groups. Field trips are covered by parent fundraising groups. The admissions fee, the buses. Outdoor Science School, which is a 5th grade program, is funded by parent fundraising groups. The district pays for textbooks, but if a classroom wants extra online supplemental classroom subscriptions, such as Scholastic Magazine, there's one called Time for Kids, that those extra subscriptions are paid for through parent fundraising groups. The district provides core science lab materials, but if a school wants to have extra science instruction or extra lab materials, that's something they fundraise for. So maybe you want to bring in a program that talks about earth sciences in conjunction with your garden. A parent fundraising group would raise money for that. The desks, the classroom furniture is paid for by the district. But some of the computers are. Sometimes when you want more computers or more electronics, you want to replace the marquee for your school. Oftentimes that is through parent fundraising groups. The murals you might see on campuses around the schools, those are all paid for by parent fundraising groups. 5th grade promotion, some of it, the activities are paid for by the district and some are paid for by parent fundraising groups. The district pays for the playground installed equipment, but the fundraising groups will pay for things like the balls, the hula hoops, the jump ropes, the extra equipment. So that is kind of an overview of how things are paid for. And now we have a video to show you.
Oh. Sorry about that. It did not go to the right screen I clicked on. Hold on one second. And just while you're waiting, this video was created by the animation was done by students, the music was created by students, and all the voiceover are current BUSD students. There we go.
Why do Burbank schools need your help? Every state determines how their schools will be funded. New York spends $20,000 per student. Wyoming spends $19,000 per student. California spends only $11,000 per student.
Did you know that teachers do not receive Social Security when they retire? Instead, the state pays them a pension. But California mismanaged that fund, and now the state is asking the school districts to cover those costs.
So the state gives the schools a budget to work from, and then the state takes a significant amount back to pay for pensions.
When budgets are cut, we can't afford technology and we lose electives such as art and music. Burbank Arts and Education Foundation raises money to bring these programs back.
Ukuleles were purchased for all the elementary schools that didn't have them, so that the district music program could include learning to play an instrument.
Funding was provided to classrooms to diversify their libraries.
Marine biology and robotic programs have been funded too.
Because of you, these things are possible.
Because of your donations, these things are possible.
Whether it's recurring small monthly donations or large corporate donations, all of it makes a difference. Thank you for your support.
Well, that is a great transition into what I'm going to be speaking about, and that's our foundation. And so I think everyone's done such a fantastic job tonight, and we have a lot of questions, so just hang tight. We do want to address some of those live. But I was really just going to explain the Burbank Arts and Ed Foundation. We have a mission actually to inspire and engage our community to invest in meeting the diverse educational needs of every single Burbank Unified student. And so we are very excited. We give away grants for classrooms twice a year. And thank you, Caroline, for speaking about the ukuleles that we purchased last year for the remaining 7 schools. So this year, all 4th and 5th graders are going to be receiving instrumental instruction during their district music time. And also somebody had spoken about earlier about cutting the earlier music for the younger grades. So one of the big goals that we have this year as a foundation is our Music for All campaign. So our goal, along with the passing of Prop 28, which was a huge win for the state of California, we're working with our superintendent and our with the budgets and to see what it is that we can provide. So some of that money will be spent in expanding the Music for All students, and then whatever money they kind of cap it at, we as a foundation are wanting to try and come in and expand it to all grade levels down to even TK. So that way, when you have a student, I know for me as a kinder parent, I was a little surprised when my child went to school and didn't have music their first year. So, you know, that's something we want to change. And so for our Music for All campaign is currently going on. We have big goals. So if you'd like to support, please, you can donate, but also that helps alleviate and liberate some of the funding that we talked about with the school fundraising committees. If they are currently funding for those programs, then that opens up their budget to meet other needs within their school sites. So that is kind of how, I know there was a question in the Q&A about that. So Music for All is going to literally provide music for all students. And if we should make our goal, and along with Prop 28 funding. And so speaking of websites, I also wanted to share with you when we're talking about the fall, you could, one of the most important things, I know a lot of, I'm on a lot of the mom boards, and there's always questions about instructional calendars and dates. What's really exciting is if you go to the BUSD website and go to the district info, you can go down and click on instructional calendars. And what's amazing is that this is the current instructional calendar, but there's also the one for next year. So you can start planning those, you know, winter vacations or spring break plans all the way through the spring of 2024. And yeah, so these websites are amazing. They're such full of information. And that concludes what I'm going to speak about. I'm going to send it back to Charlene, and she's going to oversee the Q&A.
Thank you, Brenda. Let's see what we have left to answer in the question and answer. Please, if you have any questions, add them now. We'll kind of go in order. Oh, is someone speaking?
Well, I was gonna say the first two questions were about after-school care that hopefully Peter Knappig can answer that for us.
Awesome.
So I'm reading in the Q&A how there's an interest in having, especially kindergarten and TK, have better access to childcare. So we're working with our childcare partners in identifying should the ASD group or the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club, ATB already does, expand their programs to go ahead and take on more childcare at TKK. One of the challenges we have in elementary schools in particular is that we are really impacted by space, and we are adding a whole new grade level transitional kindergarten. So eventually, and I don't know how enrollment's going to come in for a few more weeks, but eventually all schools are going to have 2 or 3, possibly even 4 transitional kindergarten classrooms, just like they have kindergarten classrooms. So that's going to go ahead and impact space availability. So once again, working with the childcare partners, where we can add, we will, and where it's tight, we'll do whatever we can to go ahead and add, but it is an interest on our part too. I just can't promise anything right now until I see where we're at in terms of enrollment, but we'll know in a few weeks.
Okay, another question we see here. Oh, Brenda, you answered about Music for All. Do the Chromebook students use a BUSD require parents to have a PC in the house as well? Is it okay if we are on Mac household?
So schools and families can be on either the Mac platform or on the PC platform. It doesn't matter. If you want to use your own device at home, please feel free to do so. We do provide the Chromebooks, which are basic laptops. So you may want something more powerful for your child, and it's a family decision. So.
Does the city of Burbank offer assistance or funds towards BAEF and BUSD?
No, the state gives the city money to run the city and the school district money to run the school district. They're 2 separate entities. There are ways we can partner. For example, we have a mixed use agreement on some of the playgrounds that can also double as parks. But generally, the answer is no. They're 2 separate entities. And Peter, if you want to elaborate on that.
You're exactly right, Caroline. There really are 2 separate entities with 2 separate funding sources. And like Caroline was saying, we do have some agreements with the city of Burbank Parks and Recreation to go ahead and use some of the fields. And we have some of our teams at high school that they use the fields. But once again, they require agreements, but there's no mixing of monies between the district and the city.
I saw a question online actually, and it was, if you have a position at your homeschool with their after-school care, but let's say you get into the dual immersion program, would you, let's say you're number 17 at your homeschool on the waiting list, are you automatically placed on the waiting list at the dual immersion school once you get in? Do you know that, Peter?
So the dual immersion program enrollment for kindergarten runs through my office. And so there's a separate application. So once a family enrolls into their home school, then they would need to go ahead and complete an application into the dual immersion program. And then the first week of March, we do a lottery to select 25 students at Disney, 25 students at McKinley, for a total of 52 students. And then, so we work with childcare to go ahead and offset that to try to go ahead and capture as many of those students as we can for childcare. But usually what happens too is that families have multiple like reservations. I can't think of the word right now, that where they go ahead and say, we want to go ahead and be possibly at Disney, possibly at Edison, possibly at this other school. So they're on 3 different lists.
And then another question I've read, you can tell I've been on the mom groups lately looking for questions. Another question that came across was that if you are enrolling in the dual immersion program, do you have a choice between the two schools, whether it be Disney or McKinley?
You do have a choice up to a point. Once we start to fill to a certain point, because we try to fill as many English learners, primary Spanish speakers into a kindergarten classroom as we can. So once we get to a point where we're full, then we have to go ahead and try to balance out the class between Disney and McKinley. We keep families together. So if you're on the Disney track or the McKinley track, siblings have priority. So we'll keep the families together. But once again, we do have to balance out those questions based on language.
And there was one more open question about a neighbor receiving confirmation that their child had been officially confirmed, but they hadn't heard yet. And they were wondering, is it done alphabetically? Have they missed something?
So there's a list that is like a first come, first serve list. So the schools are going to start responding to that, people that are on what we call the cap list, the wait list. So but they're just in the process right now, starting that.
Okay, we have a question. How old do students need to be to apply for TK? Is it only for children who have birthdays at the beginning of the school year?
So students that have birthdays between September 2nd all the way through April 2nd will be enrolled first. Students that have birthdays in April and May are currently on a wait list because I don't know how many students are going to come in. A year ago, we had about 60 open seats. So we took all of our April and May babies and placed them into TK. So right now, it's hard to say because we're only, 6-7 days into the enrollment season. So we'll know in a few weeks what it looks like. But our plan is to take every child that we can. And we'll start enrolling. We'll start taking children who turn of age like April 3rd, then April 4th, then April 5th, et cetera, all the way through June 2nd. My guess, and it's a pure guess, is we'll be okay, but I don't know until I know. Because once again, coming off of COVID, it's kind of hard to gauge right now.
Well, I think that's all we have for tonight. I just want to thank everyone for being here. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. I would like to thank the panelists for taking your time to bring your knowledge and share with our parents. I'd like to thank all of our parents on here. When just being here just shows that you are a parent who is proactive. You want to know what's going on with your schools and with your district. And informed parents make great advocates for their children. So thank you so much for being here. I'd like to also thank our behind the scenes co-chair, Jen Larigo, for all her work going on, and Jenny Pearson, our admin, for helping us. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful night. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to email us.
There was one quick question that said, will the recording of the session be posted? And
yes,
will.
It will be, and we'll also have it translated as well. Great question. Thank you. All right, everyone, you want to unmute and say bye?
Bye.
Bye.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Welcome to Burbank.
Yeah.
Thank you.